Hello, my name is Laurie Tucker. I am a sexual abuse survivor and author of the book, What Odd Things I Thank You For, Discovering Grace in a Shattered Life. These days, survivors can find lots of support as they walk their healing paths. But there are those, often unseen and underappreciated, who walk our healing paths with us. Who are these people? Cherished partners, beloved family members, loving friends, those who remain steadfast in face of the challenges that our traumas present. They remain committed throughout the journey, through our pain, grief, and anger, even as they deal with their own grief, pain, and anger. My husband, Chuck, has agreed to share his experience as he accompanies me on this healing path, as he struggles with the strictures that my trauma place on our life together. Through hard work, he has gleaned some do's and don'ts that help us as a couple as we live with abuse. I am grateful he will share these with you. Before I turn over the mic, I want to say to Chuck, thank you, my love. Thank you for your kindness, gentleness, integrity, and steadfastness that kept you by my side during hard times, even when others encouraged you to leave. Thank you for believing that our life, though now diminished because of my abuse trauma, is still a life worth living. Such love amazes and humbles me. Thank you, my love.
Thank you, my love. Hi, I'm Chuck, and I do want to share with you some of the things I've learned about living with and loving a survivor of sexual abuse. I'll use female pronouns because that's who my survivor was, but of course your survivor could be male. Here goes. First, a survivor's need to deal with her history comes when it comes, possibly many years after the abuse. Laurie was abused, raped, tortured regularly from ages 3 to 21. But it was 20 years after that, we had been married and had 2 children, before she first told me anything about the abuse. And it was another 6 years before she sought out a therapist and started actively on the healing path. Second, a survivor is not making this up, not trying to be dramatic, not seeking attention. When people have been deeply traumatized, their fight or flight system gets overloaded. Afterwards, that system becomes overly sensitive. It can kick in when it doesn't really need to, go immediately to full emergency status, and stay that way for a long time. This is one of the main effects of PTSD, and it can be tough on everyone. Survivors don't like living like this, but their bodies hold the memory of the abuse, and it affects them even when they don't want it to. Have some patience with that. Third, one of the best things you can do is to accompany your loved one. Be ready to listen to her, to be sympathetic, to be supportive. Do all you can to create a safe environment for your survivor and reassure her of your support. I don't remember struggling to believe what Laurie told me about the abuse she had suffered, though some people do, but I certainly didn't want those things to have happened to her. If what your loved one tells you seems far-fetched or exaggerated, hold off on telling her that she must be wrong and check your own feelings. Are you truly doubting your loved one's truthfulness, or are you looking for a way that this horrible thing you've just heard can go away and not become part of your life? It takes a great deal of courage for someone who has been abused to share that, especially with a loved one. Treat that telling with respect. Also, don't minimize the impact of her history by saying, "Oh, but it was just a few times, right?" Or, "But you're okay now, aren't you?" From Laurie's experience, those responses are unhelpful at best and can be very hurtful. A much better first response is something like, "Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry." Fourth, and this one was big for me, you cannot fix her. I'm a person who sees the world as a set of problems to be solved. That helps me as an engineer, but it doesn't help me in living with Laurie's history. It took a lot of work and much help from my therapist to understand that there were no magical words I could say, no gift I could give, no gesture I could make that would heal Laurie's wounds. She has had to do that work herself. What I can do is make sure she doesn't have to do it alone. I have a few more thoughts to offer, and I'll share them in part 2. There's a link to that video in the description below. If your loved ones suffered abuse, my heart goes out to both of you. There is much in your lives that I wish you didn't have to bear. And if you approach your life with openness and a desire to understand what your loved one is going through, that will help you both. Be patient, be open, and hang in there. You are not alone. Until next time, blessings for the journey.